Hi, welcome back. As promised, I'm going to do a little video about how I became a bus driver. Not so much why. We all know COVID has destroyed a lot of people's lives. It sent my business down the tubes, and I jumped ship. I can't say it any plainer than that. But I've driven in London for the best part of 25 years. So I'm just driving a bigger vehicle than I was before. So how it works, I applied during the first lockdown, end of February, beginning of March. I had a phone interview. You would normally have a little test drive around in a van, but because of COVID, that didn't happen. I don't think it's going to happen again, to be honest, not for the foreseeable future. So, had the interview, and I didn't hear anything for quite a long time. Obviously, people being furloughed and what have you. And then about May, June, I got a phone call asking me, was I still interested? And I said, yeah, of course. Okay, they said, we'll be in touch. Didn't hear another thing until probably, I don't know, June, July, end of June, beginning of July. And I was asked to come into the West Ham office, which is the London head office. I work for Stagecoach. Other bus companies are available, but I don't work for them. So went to West Ham, filled in a lot of paperwork, took my driving license, passport, and what else did I do? National insurance number. Filled in loads of paperwork. Get on the scale, because you have to be a certain way to be a bus driver. And they, after finished all the paperwork, we were handed a pack for our medical, and our medical was booked for some time. I think it was the same week, or maybe it was the next week. We went, did the medical. The guy filled in the form, sent it off to the DVLA. That came back August. Told Stagecoach. And I was asked to come. Before I start, I was given a date to start training. They sent me a link to Theory Test Pro. Obviously, because this day and age, you've got to pass your theory test before you can drive a bus, any vehicle. So they sent me that so you can study before you turn up. And I'm not saying it was easy, because it wasn't, because it's the theory test is 100 questions, and you have to get 86. I think it's 86. It might be 85. It's 84, 85, 86, something in that region. So you have to get that to pass. I got 96, so I was quite chuffed with that. When I eventually did it. Anyway, they send me that in the post, so you start studying in your own time. So when you get the start date, which my start date was the 9th of September, you're ready to rock and roll, hit the road running, all those things. So I started on the 9th of September, and 9th of September, I've never seen so much paperwork. The whole day was paperwork. Told to come in, was it 7:40 the next day? I think it was 7:45, 7:40. And we rocked straight in to a theory test. Straight into theory test, passed the theory test, and I did the hazard perception test. I believe it was, yes, the same day. Hazard perception test. Was it the next day? Whatever. So you do hazard perception, theory, and a case studies test. You have to pass all three to progress through to being able to driver training. So that's where, you know, you do it's, and they give you, it's not that they throw you into it. They give, you know, there were guys up there who obviously English isn't their first language, who have learning difficulties, and they coach them through it, and they, you know, they give them, you know, you've got a good week of studying as well on top of the time that you've already had. If you haven't studied, you won't pass. It's as simple as that, because it's not an easy gig. So if you're thinking about becoming a bus driver, there are things online you can get. You can Theory Test Pro, or you can get Theory. I think there's two. Theory Test Pro gives you all the bits and pieces that you need. Or in Theory, there'll be another one which will be a freer version, which will only give you a certain amount. Then you'll have to buy it. But if you go on and study, go on to the next stage, and the next bit is the hard bit. Okay, so we've covered modules 1 and 2, theory test, hazard perception test, and case studies test is module 2. Module 3 goes on to driver training. So driver training, I went into driver training on 14th of September, and it's 4 to 6 weeks depending. So it's 35 hours, 40 hours if you need a little bit more. So I had 3 people on my bus, and myself included, so we rotated, we did an hour a piece. You know, made things a little bit more complicated because normally you just have 2. So the bus turns itself off again. I went into Catford because I was meant to drive out of Catford, but I was told I had to go to Bromley. So I work out of the Bromley garage now. So my instructor Paul, myself, Jermaine, and young Dino. Dino didn't make the grade and had to go off and do other things, because not everyone passes. Not everyone gets through the theory test. Not everyone gets through the driving test. So, you know, just take that in mind. Anyway, so we drove around Bromley, through Plumstead, around Catford, down around the M25 a couple of times, down, you know, just to get the feel of the bus, getting the turnings, left and right, and, you know, lane handling. Because you have to remember, you're not being taught to drive, because you already know how to drive. What they're doing is they're upskilling you to drive a bus in London. So driver training I loved it. It was great, you know. So you either start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or you start at 5:20 in the morning. 5:20 in the morning, you finish at 2. Start at 2 in the afternoon, and you finish at, you know, 11ish, 10:30, 11. So you have to remember that. Also have to remember that bus driving is you know, antisocial. You know, you start the first bus out of Bromley, I think it's 4 o'clock in the morning. So you've got to go out, and you've got to get up before you go to bed just to go to work. Okay, and the last bus into Bromley is about 2 o'clock in the morning. So it's not a 24-hour garage, but it might as well be, you know, a couple of hours difference. So we did a couple of weeks of driving in the local area, through Lewisham, through Eltham, you know, down in southeast London. And then as we progressed through, we were starting to go further afield into, the driving tests are in and around the West Ham office. So we were driving through, because we were driving an Optare. So we drove through the Blackwall Tunnel. The roller ride, we couldn't get it through the Blackwall Tunnel every day, or we'd go over Tower Bridge and wind our way through, depending on what time of day we started. I started, I got, as I said, with Paul, and then Paul got a different gig from West Ham because he was a Raynham driver. And we got Lloyd. Lloyd took us on for the next week or 10 days onto driving tests in module 4. We did our module. I did my module. We both, me and Jermaine, did. Obviously, Dino joined us a week later. Then yeah, so he hadn't passed his mod 4 by the time we passed our driving test. So we did our mod 4. I'm just checking my piece of paper for my notes. Mod 4 on the 5th of October. Yeah, on the 5th of October. And I passed my practical driving test, which is module 3. Excuse me. On the 8th of September. And after that, we did a little bit of ticket training, health and safety, and that sort of thing. And I ended up going to my garage on the 13th of October. I did route learning through COVID, so I was supposed to learn a couple of routes, but that never happened. I learned the school bus routes, which is the 638, and the 261, which is the route that I drive every day. If you've got any questions, let me know. Drop them in the comments. If you want me to do a video on the mod 4, I'll do that. If you want me to do a video on the first use checks, I'll do that as well. But if you like my videos, please subscribe, press the bell icon so every time I do a video you're notified, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. You take care. Bye bye.